Bob Dylan never wanted to be anyone's hero. He wasn't looking to lead a movement or define a generation. He was just a kid from Minnesota who wrote songs. But like Holden Caulfield wandering the streets of New York, Dylan found himself caught between two worlds. One that demanded authenticity, and another that tried to force him into a role he never asked for.
In the city where we walk.
In 1951, J.D. Salinger published The Catcher in the Rye, a book that would become a manifesto for the lost and the disillusioned. Its protagonist, Holden Caulfield, was a 16-year-old boy drifting through a city that felt cold, fake, and full of phonies. He had nowhere to go, no real place to belong. Sound familiar? When Dylan left Hibbing for New York in the early 60s, he wasn't just chasing a career. He was searching for something real. He arrived in a city that, like Holden's world, was full of expectations, illusions, and people trying to mold him into something he wasn't. Things are happening here, but you don't know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones? The same disillusionment that fueled Holden was pouring out of Dylan's songs. Both of them saw through the masks, the phoniness, the roles people played, and neither of them wanted any part of it. But here's where Dylan's story takes an eerie turn. In the mid-1960s, there were talks of a Catcher in the Rye film adaptation, and the producers considered Bob Dylan for the role of Holden Caulfield.
Snow that falleth from heaven.
Dylan as Holden, imagine that. The restless poet playing the restless teenager, the rebel who didn't fit in. It never happened, of course. Salinger never allowed a film to be made. He knew Hollywood would turn Holden into just another empty icon, another phony. And maybe Dylan knew the same thing about himself.
Snow that falleth from heaven.
By 1966, Dylan had become a prisoner of his own legend, the voice of a generation, the folk prophet, the electric traitor. Everyone had a label for him. Everyone wanted something from him. I try my best to be just like I am, but everybody wants you to be just like them. It's the same struggle Holden faces. He doesn't want to be molded into something he's not. He just wants to escape.
Snow that falleth from heaven.
And then Dylan crashes. Literally, a motorcycle accident in Woodstock. It was his moment of exile, his way of disappearing from the world that had claimed him. He stepped away from the stage, from the expectations, just like Holden, who dreamed of running away, of living in the woods, of catching kids before they fell. I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. Holden Caulfield. Dylan disappeared into his own kind of wilderness. He stopped being a prophet. He became a father, a recluse, a man who didn't belong to anyone but himself. And when he came back, he wasn't the same. His music became more introspective, more cryptic, like he had finally stepped beyond the illusions Holden could never escape. But Catcher in the Rye has a dark legacy. A book about isolation, disillusionment, and rebellion. Some took it as a call to arms. Mark David Chapman, the man who murdered John Lennon, was found reading it moments after pulling the trigger. I kept hearing this voice in my head saying, "Do it, do it, do it." I picked up Catcher in the Rye and started reading it again. And suddenly, I felt connected to Holden Caulfield, like I was doing something for him. Lennon, the man who once sang, imagine no possessions, had become a symbol of what Chapman saw as hypocrisy, the same kind of hypocrisy Holden despised. But Holden was just a lost kid, trying to make sense of a world that didn't make sense. Chapman, he twisted that confusion into something deadly. And Chapman wasn't the only one. John Hinckley Jr., who attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan in 1981, was also obsessed with Catcher in the Rye. The book, meant to reflect teenage alienation, had become something darker, a manifesto for the dangerously lost. Dylan never spoke much about Lennon's murder, but his own words, written years before, seemed to echo the senselessness of it all. How does it feel? To be on your own, with no direction home, like a complete unknown? Like a rolling stone. Maybe that's why Dylan and Holden are forever linked. Two drifters, searching for something that probably never existed in the first place. A real, unfiltered world. A place without phonies. A place where you could just be yourself. But the world doesn't work like that. And maybe Dylan knew that better than anyone. You're not busy being born as busy dying. It's alright, Ma, I'm only bleeding. Dylan kept moving, kept changing, refusing to be trapped. Unlike Holden, he didn't get stuck at the edge of the cliff. He kept walking, always one step ahead of the people trying to define him. So, was Bob Dylan the real-life Holden Caulfield? Maybe. Or maybe he was something else entirely. Someone who saw through the illusions but learned how to live with them. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you love deep dives into the intersection of music and literature, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more videos here on Riffs and Reads. Until next time, keep reading, keep listening, and stay curious.